everybody. Welcome to class this evening. My name is Mimi, in case you haven't had class with me before. And for anyone that tried to join last week and class was canceled because I was sick, I apologize. But if that's the case and you're here tonight, I'm really excited that you were able to make it this evening. And the theme for this class tonight is going to be centered on soothing the nervous system and reducing anxiety. And this practice, like all the other practices, will be stored on the Thunderwell page. So if you like it and you find yourself needing it, you can return to it as many times as you'd like. So you don't need any special equipment for this class. You might want to grab yourself some water or have a blanket or something cozy like warm socks or a sweater nearby. And I would recommend having a pillow. You might want that for various times throughout the class, but that's about it. So we're going to start on our backs. So go ahead and come onto your back. And as you come onto your back, I'm going to ask you to just bend your knees to start. So bend your knees so that your pelvis tilts backwards. And the lower back is rooted to the ground. And there's this sense of comfort and ease in the lower back and stability. And then just take a few moments here. Your hands can be resting on your belly, or they might come down to your side. And if they do, they could turn palm up or palm down. And just take the next few moments like this. So let your energy settle and drop down. So I know for myself, my nervous system and level of anxiety have been really amped up. And the closer that we get to the elections, and yeah, I'm just feeling that more and more. And so this practice is really designed with that in mind, because it's just not sustainable. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to find ways to soothe ourselves and not be going on overdrive all the time. So if that's the mode that you've been finding yourself in, this practice is just for you. And if you are looking for something a little bit more vigorous or a little bit more active, you might find that actually this is what you need. Sometimes I think I want something more vigorous, and then I'm offered something really gentle and mellow, and it just feels like a warm embrace that I kind of melt into. If you'd like, you can stretch your legs out long, or you can keep your knees bent. We're just going to stay in stillness for a few more moments. Back of the body resting on the floor. And each cycle of breath bringing you more deeply into this moment. If your eyes are not closed already, you might go ahead and give that a try. If instead you choose to keep them open, make sure that the gaze is soft. The focus is a little blurry or not on anything in particular, so that instead you could focus on what you're feeling, both in your body and in your heart. And sometimes our days are just so busy and so full of rushing from one thing to another that we just get disconnected from our feelings and emotions and even just what's going on in our body. So taking some time here to bring it all together, to land back home. And then if your legs are straight, you're going to go ahead and bend them. And if you've had something under your head, like I do, you're going to take it out temporarily. You can always bring it back in. But right now, you're going to interlace your fingers and bring those behind your head. And let your elbows drop out to the side, your nose point up to the ceiling. And you're going to take your upper body and curve it to the right. So just curving so that the left-hand side of your ribcage and your waist gets longer. And then there's a contraction into the right-hand side of your ribcage and your waist. Elbows are heavy. Try to keep them relaxed on the floor. Try to keep both shoulder blades on the floor. Notice the way that the right-hand side of your waist feels more spacious. And take one more breath here. And then come back through the center. Good. And we'll go to the other side. So shortening the left-hand side of your waist, elongating through the right-hand side. Feel that stretch, that spaciousness in the right-hand side of your ribcage. See if you can allow both shoulder blades to rest on the floor, elbows to rest on the floor. Take a few more breaths. And then come back to the center. You're going to stretch your legs long and reach your arms overhead and just stretch from fingers to toes. Maybe reach through one side and the other. And wiggle about, maybe turn your ankles, turn your wrists. You'll have more opportunity for that later. You might open your mouth. Maybe there's a big old sigh or yawn. And then draw your knees in towards your belly. And just hug them right in. Press your lower back to the floor and rock a little bit, side to side. Good. And then hold on to your right knee and just allow your left foot to come to the floor. And you can begin to circle your right ankle and circle it in the other direction. You might point and flex and wiggle your toes. And then go ahead and interlace your fingers behind your thigh. And you're going to send your foot up towards the ceiling, so straighten your leg. And then bend your knee again. And straighten your leg. And bend your knee again. And do it a few times. And if holding on behind your thigh feels challenging, you could always release your arms by your side and continue the same motion. Good. And then reach your leg up towards the ceiling and hold it there, either with your fingers interlaced behind your thigh or letting them drop down. And then just flex your foot. So trying to flatten your foot so that it's parallel with the ceiling. And then catch your knee and squeeze it in towards your belly one more time. And release your left arm by your side. With your right hand, you're going to begin to circle that knee around. So you're circling around in one direction. And then you're circling around in the other direction. Good. And then take hold of your knee. And you're going to begin to externally rotate the thighs. So bringing the inner thigh towards the outer rib cage, bringing the knee up towards your underarm. Take a moment here. You could stay right here, or you might take your right hand to your inner arch of your foot and then send your foot straight up to the ceiling. So this is called a half happy baby. You're going to root down through that left-hand side of your behind. So you're not tipping or rolling over to the right. There might be a little bit of lift to that left hip, but you don't want to roll over. Pause for a few breaths. Good, and then slowly lower the leg down. And you might just stretch that leg out for a moment. So you've got your left knee bent, right leg straight. And just take a few breaths. One more moment. And then with a straight leg, float that leg all the way up to the ceiling. And then bend your knee and lower that foot to the floor. And we'll go with the other side. So pulling the knee in, catching the knee or the shin, and just beginning to circle your ankle. And circle around in the other direction. And point and flex and wiggle toes. And then interlace your fingers behind that left thigh. And you're going to send your foot up to the ceiling. And then bend your knee. And then send your foot up to the ceiling. And then bend your knee. And do it a few more times. And then leave your foot up there. You can hold on behind your thigh or maybe relax your hands down. And then see if you can flex your foot. Push your heel towards the ceiling. Level out your foot as much as you can so it's even with the ceiling. And then rebend that knee and catch it with just your left hand. And then use your left hand to circle the leg around. We'll circle around a couple times in one direction. And circle around a couple times in the other direction. And then go ahead and take the knee externally. So you're going to begin to rotate the hip, the thigh, draw the knee up towards the underarm. And then take your hand to the inner arch of your foot and just direct that foot straight up towards the ceiling. And again, you want to make sure that you're not totally toppling over to that left-hand side, so you keep the right half of your behinds more or less rooted to the floor. Good. And then you begin to release that leg, lower the foot to the floor, and then straighten your leg. So let that hip flexor, front of the hip, just open up. And then engage your core, float the legs straight up to the ceiling, and then lower your foot to the floor. Good. We're gonna take our feet wide, so almost to the edges of your mat. And you're gonna turn your toes in towards each other. And you're gonna allow your knees and thighs to just knock against each other. Take a couple moments there. Breathing, feeling that slight internal rotation to the hips. And then walking your feet in so they're just about hips width distance apart. The feet can land and the knees just point straight up to the ceiling. And we're going to reach our arms straight up towards the ceiling, so right up over our chest. And just begin to circle your wrists. So like I mentioned, keeping all of our movements really gentle, really slow. We'll barely make it up off the floor today. And then going in the opposite direction. There's just some days that deserve a practice like this, that call for a practice like this. And you might open and close your palms a few times and wiggle your fingers. And then keep your palms reaching towards the ceiling and let your shoulders drop down. So really feel that. And then we're going to go the opposite. So you're going to shrug your shoulders up and reach your hands up and then drop your shoulders down. And then peel the shoulders up and drop it down. So as you inhale, fingers go high. And then maybe you exhale with a little bit of a ha. And you inhale, ha. And do it a few more times on your own. Ha. Ha. Good. And then with your palms facing one another, you're going to bring the tips of your fingers together. So pinky meets pinky and so on. And then with just your fingertips touching, open your palms out a little bit. So it's like you're cupping a ball. So imagine a baseball about that size, caged in by your hands. And then bend your elbows outward a little bit. You're going to drop your arms back behind you, fingertips keep touching, and then reach your arms back up over your chest. And then drop your hands back behind you, and reach your arms back over your chest. And then do that a few more times. Elbows are slightly bent. Fingertips touching, just warming up shoulders, just kind of going through the body bit by bit. And moving and working through any tension or feelings of being stuck. All right. And then release your hands with your arms up towards the ceiling again. And then you're going to take hold opposite hand to opposite forearm. And then drop both arms, so leading with the left elbow over to the left and turn your head to the right. And then come back to the center. And then drop both arms, so leading with your right elbow over to the right and turn your head to the left. And come back to the center. Go ahead and reverse the cross of your hands. So just shift your forearms slightly. And drop your elbows down to the left. Turn your head to the right. And come back to the center and drop your forearms down to, or your elbows down to the right. Turn your head to the left. Good, and come back to the center and release your arms down by your side. Legs can stay bent or you can stretch them long for a couple of breaths. Just noticing how this first bit of movement we've done so far has landed in your body. And then bend your knees once again. Coming into a little bit bigger movement. So feet are fairly close in towards your behind. So you walk the heels in and the feet remain about hips width distance apart. Nose points straight up towards the ceiling. You're going to press into your feet so the back side and the lower back lift. And as you do that, sweep your arms to the floor behind you. And then as you exhale, roll your way down. And just let your arms settle by your side and land. And do it again. Press into your feet. Let the pelvis lift, backside lift, arms sweep to the floor behind you. And then exhale and slowly lower down. Do it a few more times on your own. Find a pace that matches your breath, matches your level of energy tonight. Just a few more times. And then just let your backside land, the body meets the floor. Give your entire weight over to the floor. And then hug your knees in. And rock a little bit, side to side. And then just rock yourself up to a seat or roll yourself over. And we're going to come and spend a little time in a seated position. So you can go ahead and grab a pillow or a cushion or something that might help you to be more comfortable as we come upright. And you can sit in this cross-legged position, or you might decide that it's more comfortable to have your legs extended, or some of you might even come into a chair. Then go ahead and join both hands at your heart. We're going to inhale with the palms together, send them up towards the ceiling, reaching, and then exhale and let your fingertips float all the way down and land. And then inhale, sweep your arms up, arms up. And exhale into your heart. And then again, inhale, let the palms soar up. And then exhale, let the fingertips float all the way down. Inhale, the arms are going to sweep up. And then exhale, gather them in at your heart. And one last time, inhale, arms reaching up. Exhale, let them float all the way down. Inhale, arms going wide, reaching. And exhale, in at the heart, let the thumb touch in. Take a deep breath in. And then blow it out. Bring your right fingertips to the floor and sweep your left arm up. And then begin to reach up and over. Long, long, long through the side body. And then inhale and come up, and we'll just go in the other direction. Sweep your opposite arm up and lean up and over. Good, and then coming up, we're gonna come into a twist, so taking your left hand across and your right hand behind you. Go ahead and twist to the right. And then reverse. And we'll go in the other direction. So taking your hand behind you, take the right hand across and go ahead and twist. And then unwind and come forward. You bring the soles of your feet together. And you can have your heels in fairly close, or you might extend them a little bit forward, and we're gonna bow. So if you find that as you bow, you're just kind of caving in on yourself, come up again, straighten out your spine, and see if you can maintain that as you bow, even if it means that you're sitting more upright. So you can hold on to your ankles. You could bring your hands to the floor. Some of you might use the traction of your hands to bow more deeply in. Take a few more moments here. And then slowly walk your hands upright. And we're going to come into a child's pose. So if you were using a pillow, you can move it off to the side. Bring big toes together, knees apart a little or a lot. And sink your hips back towards your heels and bow forward. Bring your forehead down to the floor, or maybe you fold your hands underneath your head for some support or propping. If your forehead is on the floor, maybe you begin to roll your head from side to side. Giving yourself a massage across the temple and across the brow. And then come on back to hands and knees. So we're coming into a tabletop shape. Spread the palms, and we're going to do some cat cows. So inhaling, tilt your pelvis forward and open up heart and chest and throat. And then exhale and round. Push the floor away, draw the belly up and back. Inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. Pull the shoulders back, open up heart and chest and throat. And exhale and round. So continue on your own. Inhaling and exhaling, opening up front body and back body. Good, and then walk your hands forward of your shoulders and just begin to swirl your hips around. Swirl your hips around in the other direction. And then walk your hands back so they're slightly forward of your shoulders, but not quite so much. You're going to tuck your toes under, lift your hips up, and we're going to find downward facing dog. Just lifting up and back. You can begin to pedal your feet and wobble your hips. This is about as vigorous as a pose we're going to do tonight. As I mentioned, we're just keeping it really, really gentle, really low to the ground, really slow. Good. You can begin to walk your hands backwards towards your feet. Soften your knees. Allow the upper body to just drape down over your thighs. Maybe you continue to move a little bit. So it might be some sway, a gentle nodding of the head. And then push into your feet. Sweep your arms high and wide. Come all the way up to standing. And then join your hands. Bring them into the center of your heart. And then take a hand to your heart and a hand to your belly. And you're going to pause. And we're just going to do a little bit on our feet. So bringing hands to your thighs. Go ahead and loop your shoulders back and roll your chest open. Lean back so there's a bit of a back bend. And then as you exhale, sit the hips back and just roll down over your thighs. Just drape the belly onto the thighs. And then inhale, the hands are going to slide up the thighs, up the legs, roll your shoulders back. Maybe you open your arms. And then exhale, sit it back and drape down. I'm going to give you a sideways profile so that you can see. And just do it a couple more times at your own rhythm and your own pace. Good. And then the next time you bow forward, hands are going to come to the floor once again, and you're going to find that downward facing dog. So step yourself back, spread the palms, and move about. And then lower your knees down. Bring big toes together, knees apart, sit your hips back. And we're coming into a child's pose again. Few breaths. And from child's pose, we're going to come onto hands and knees. And then you're going to drop your hips off to the left. And we're going to come down onto our left side. So here, you might want to have a pillow handy. You're going to take your left hand and your left arm. And you're going to slide it underneath you and come to lie on your side. And then straighten your legs. And then take that top leg, take your right leg, bend your knee, and then let that knee and hip fall forward. So you should be feeling this as a gentle stretch to the outer thigh, outer hip, and again, a little bit of height and propping underneath the head here is probably going to make you feel more comfortable. And then take your right arm and reach it up towards the ceiling And then reach it up and across your ear and let your fingertips land on the floor behind you, so past your head. If this bothers your arm, you could try adjusting it a little bit. See if you can find a place where it lands more easily, more comfortably. Or you might just simply let your arm rest by your side instead. You can adjust the angle of your head, adjust the arrangement of your legs. Basically, moving about until you find an arrangement of your body that you can hang out in without any discomfort, without the distraction of that, for a handful of breaths. Maybe about 4 more breaths here. With that right arm up, circled across your ear, across your head, or that arm resting on your hip. And then you're going to take that arm. If you've got it reaching across your head, go ahead and relax it so that it's resting on your hip. And then take your right foot, right knee. You're going to pick it up and see if you can catch your foot with that right hand. So the heel begins to draw in close to your behind. You can draw the heel in close and feel the way that fires up and stretches the front of the thigh, or you could begin to kick that leg away from you, maybe coming into a bit of a back bend or feeling the front of the shoulder roll back and open. Maybe you move between those two. Take a few more breaths. And then begin to release the leg. And then take both legs and curl them in towards your belly. So you're lying on your side, both legs stacked, one on top of the other, your head resting on a pillow. And then you're going to take your arms and stack them, one on top of the other. Take your top arm and begin to fan it up towards the ceiling. And as that arm reaches, go ahead and roll the head and the chest open and let that arm land behind you. And then go ahead and roll so that you're closing back to your starting place. And do it a couple more times. So letting the arm fan behind you, head, shoulder, upper chest rolling. And then bringing the arms back together. And just keep doing it on your own. Finding that rhythm, finding that peace. And then the next time that arm lands behind you, we're going to settle into a twist. So the legs are stacked and stable. The upper body twisting to the right. You might need to do some adjustments. So if that right arm, right shoulder is feeling uncomfortable, you can slide it down by your side or bring your hand to your rib cage. You might take your left hand and root it on top of your right thigh. And take a few more moments. Eyes closed, face and jaw relaxed. And then begin to roll yourself onto your back. Might have to do a little bit of adjusting, straightening out the body and moving to the center of your mat. And you can just rest here with hands on your belly, knees bent or straight, whatever feels most natural in your body. And take a few more breaths. All right, you're going to extend your right arm by your side or out like a T and roll to the right hand side of your body. I'm going to spin myself around so that you can see me better if you need that guidance. Otherwise, just go ahead and roll. So you're on the outer right hand side of your body. Put your head on the pillow and then bend your left knee. And let that knee and that thigh drape forward. If you'd like, you might take that left arm in a big circle, a big arc, and let your fingertips land on the floor. If that bothers you, you could rest your hands on whatever the support is for your head, or you might just relax that arm by your side. And we're going to stay here probably for about a full minute. Adjust the position of your head and your neck. Come into a slow, steady breath. And take a few more moments here. If your arm is across your ear and at any point within the hold you feel like you need to bring it by your side, don't hesitate to do that. Good, and then take your arm, you can lower it by your side. You're going to begin to kick your left knee back and see if you can catch that foot with your hand. And then draw your heel in close to your behind and reach your knee and your thigh back. So you get this big quadricep stretch. And then opening up the shoulder and the back, you're going to kick the foot away. So reach the knee and the thigh back still, but let your left shoulder roll back and let that foot kick away so you can feel the front of the chest open. And then release that foot and curl your knees in close to your belly so you can stack them one on top of the other. And then stack your arms one on top of the other as well. You're going to take your left hand and you're going to begin to fan it up and across and to the floor behind you. And then back and over, hands stack. And then do that a few more times. So take that arm, reach it up and over and across, and then come on back. And keep it up. Again, finding a rhythm and a pace for your movements that matches your breath. And then eventually, letting that arm land behind you. And you can adjust yourself. You might pull your knees in a little bit closer or take that right hand to rest on the top of your left thigh. few more moments here. And release your hands and roll onto your back. Adjust yourself. And open your arms wide. Open your feet wide. And swing your legs from side to side. Head can turn in the opposite direction. Just letting the lower back and the hips feel some rotation here. And the next time the legs land to the right, you're going to take your right ankle and slip it on top of your left thigh. And then adjust your legs so they can feel hooked and like they're dropping down. A few more breaths. Inhale, bring the legs back up to center, and let's go in the other direction. So letting the legs drop down to the left and then hook the left ankle over the right thigh. And then bring the legs back up to the center and uncross your legs. Have your feet on the floor, nice and wide. And then turn your toes in towards each other and allow your knees and your thighs to knock against each other, just like we did at the beginning of class. And then reach your arms straight up towards the ceiling. You're going to make an X with your arms and then bend at the elbows and let your arms drape down. It's like you're giving yourself a big hug or a big embrace. And then inhale, send your arms out wide, right to left. And then cross them in the opposite direction. So the opposite arm comes closer to your face and then bend your elbows and just let your arms slide past each other and hang down. And then open your arms out one more time. And bring them to your belly. And let your legs stretch long. We're going to come from here to a couple minutes of stillness and rest. So yoga, we call this Shavasana. It's just a period for the body to kind of relax and make sense of everything that's happened within the last hour. A chance for the nervous system and the muscles and the ligaments and tendons to digest and incorporate what we've offered. If having your legs extended bothers your lower back, go ahead and bend your knees instead. Let your breath be quiet and still. So you want to find this stillness. It's not just meaning that your body's not moving anymore, but an internal stillness as well. An absence of some of that restless, anxious agitation that so many of us are carrying around these days, or an absence of that constant chatter that so many of us have running all the time in our head, accompanying us in everything we do. And we'll stay for about 2 more minutes on our backs. If you're feeling done, you can always rise sooner, or if when I say to come up, you feel like you want a little more time, you can always stay longer. Slowly allow your breath to deepen. Maybe reach your arms overhead or stretch your legs long and reach and wiggle about. And then bend your knees and gather them in at your belly and rock a little bit from side to side. Good. And then you can roll yourself up to a seat. Maybe you grab your pillow or something to sit up on for more comfort. And you come to an upright seat. Allow your hands to rest on your lap. Palm up or palm down. Lift up through the crown of the head and make sure the shoulders aren't dropping forward. And just take some time to notice and feel. Notice the difference in how you feel as we close out our practice. Noticing what shifted and changed, or maybe slowed down and opened up. And then bring both hands in at your heart. Take the edge of your thumbs and just tap it into the center of your chest, or in yoga where we call the spiritual heart center. Take a moment to just feel a sense of gratitude for this opportunity to move slow for the course of an hour. Thank yourself for showing up and carving out this hour for self-care, knowing that it's not only good for you, but probably good for everybody else in your life, everybody else you have contact with. And then just taking a deep bow of gratitude to the practice and Thunderwell, Thunder Mist for providing this space. And thank you to all of you for showing up this evening. And again, like I said at the beginning of class, these classes are available on the Thunder Mist Facebook page, the Thunderwell page, and you can return to them again and again as much as you need to. And I hope to see you in a couple weeks. Have a great rest of your night.